welcome to The Path of Me. I'm your host, Wendy Hutchinson, and my guest today is a hypnotherapist, and I'm so excited to introduce her to you because she is helping people reconnect to themselves and also teaching people how to connect and do their own kind of be their own self hypnotic guide or connect with their higher selves. So welcome, Irina Furin. Thank you for being here today.
Hi, it's really nice to see you and to be here on your show.
So great to see you too. Well, first off, let's talk a little bit about what guided you to even explore hypnosis in the first place. I think you were an engineer, right? You were working as an engineer.
Yeah, yes,
And so,
I still am.
yeah,
Yeah.
so hypnosis seems so far away from the mindset of an engineer, which would be very concrete and linear and everything makes sense. So tell me a little bit
Absolutely.
about how you fell into it. What was going on in your life and what inspired you to seek hypnosis?
My best teacher was pain, actually. So I was unhappy, having a life, it seemed like, there was nothing special about my life, no serious problems, just the usual ones
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that we all have. But there was that feeling. I was so lost and I didn't know what I was looking for. I was just so utterly unhappy, lost, depressed, and angry with myself for being depressed about, just when I have everything that I really need.
Right.
So it was a pain. At the same time, the feelings of guilt. Why am I feeling this way? Shame for not being able to control my feelings, to control myself, my life. All this came together at one point. And it was such a beautiful sunny day when I first experienced hypnosis. A wonderful, ideal sunny day. I had my mascara on. So, girls, never put your mascara on if you're going to have a hypnotherapy session or your first session. And I went to a hypnotherapist because it was just a coincidence, you know. I didn't know what I was looking for. Truly, I was just lost and I was experimenting. Well, let's see what happens. And I really didn't know what I was about to experience, what to expect, etc. So I went to the hypnotherapist, nothing else to do. And suddenly, about 15 minutes in the session, and I found myself in World War II. And that was such a shocking experience that my consciousness kind of split. One part was observing the engineer, the architect was saying, "Oh, wait, it cannot be true.
What is
You're
this, right? What am I
what is this?"
looking at? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm acting weird first. I just spent money on nothing, just fantasizing. But why World War II? And that's really silly. I feel uncomfortable talking about World War II,
Are
and
you
and
observing yourself
I'm
in
observing
where,
myself.
so it's like a lucid dream almost, like you are
Yes,
observing
exactly,
yourself in a very traumatic scenario, I would guess.
exactly, exactly. Because the other part was living through those events. I didn't see everything like in a documentary movie because that's not like real life. I was experimenting. I felt dust, the smell of very dense
It was
dust,
very visceral. It was very
very
tangible.
visceral. Exactly,
Yeah.
very tangible. I could feel the vibrations as the tanks were moving closer,
Wow.
and I was in some house, or it was a cellar, and I could feel, that vibration.
Mhm.
And I knew that the tanks were coming, and there is an attack, I could hear, feel everything. The terror, that part, that previous life part, was in a shock, experiencing all that. I was a child. So the other part, the engineer was trying to analyze everything.
Make sense
Okay,
of it.
make sense of it. Is it really my fantasy? Am I going crazy? Why am I here? Etc. And one thing I couldn't lie about, even to myself, this was the feelings and energy. I was feeling grief. So when I started thinking about, as an engineer, why am I experiencing this?
Mhm.
Suppose there is a previous life. Suppose I went through all this. Why is this coming up right now? And I understood that this was the feeling of grief that I'm experiencing, and it's not a fantasy. You cannot experience grief if it's not there. It was absolutely visceral grief, pain. And I needed to go through that. In that lifetime, I died very young because I didn't want to live in a place like that anymore.
Mhm.
So I died young with that pain inside. And what no one told me, when I read those books, I was reading all the stuff that most of us read about previous lives, etc. No one told me that feelings, they don't evaporate, after death. They come with us.
Yes, if they're not healed and resolved,
Exactly.
they come
Exactly.
with you into that next incarnation and that next incarnation
Yes,
until you do face it and heal it
exactly.
and resolve it. So the patterns aren't just in this current lifetime. The
Yes,
feelings
exactly.
and the trauma can be from many lifetimes,
Yes, yes.
which most
And
people aren't don't have an awareness around, right? You think you're in this
yes,
lifetime and everything is relevant to what's happening in this human life.
exactly, exactly. So we imagine that when we are born, we are like a white paper, a blank paper,
Mhm.
and we are starting from new. It's not true. And I started to connect all those instances in my life, in this present life, from early childhood, when I experienced grief. I used to have dreams about World War II as a very small child, and that's
Really?
when,
So there was a little bit of a bleed through coming from a very early
yes,
age of
yes,
those trauma experiences that had not been
exactly,
resolved or healed in that
yes,
lifetime as a
exactly.
child. And you have no control over that as a child. It's not like your ego is in control when you're a
No,
young
exactly.
child. So how interesting.
Yes, yes. And those recurring dreams as a child, they seem natural. So you are not questioning them. Only later, as I started to analyze all these experiences, I understood that all these dreams were, as you said, a bleed through. At a very early age, 3 years, 4 years, that, I'm running away, I'm going to lose what? I didn't know. I just felt lost. And the child doesn't understand really the context
Just
of
a lot
all
of
this.
unprocessed emotion, it sounds like, because you didn't have
Exactly.
the awareness or when you're a child, you don't have the language and the mature processing um,
Exactly.
to kind of make sense of what's happening. So there must have been a lot of fear also,
Yes.
in addition to
Yes.
grief and loss, just so much. Wow,
Exactly.
that's just so, so powerful. Did you continue to see this hypnotherapist to help you work through it? Or did you just go, okay, well, that makes sense and go on?
I went back to learn hypnosis. I wanted to get to the bottom. It was like going down that rabbit hole, and I wanted to see it all. And the next step in my awakening, because this was the first step of my awakening and me having no clue what I'm doing.
That's a pretty huge experience to have as your first kind of spiritual experience or consciousness awareness.
Absolutely.
Being an engineer who's like, I don't even know what I'm talking about or what I'm experiencing. So that must have really shaken you up a little bit.
It was absolutely so. Just imagine that on that sunny day, and I'm in a pretty pink dress, as I imagine, a nice sunny day in Budapest. It was in Budapest.
Oh my goodness.
And then, mascara running down my face, and I was like a mess.
Oh my gosh.
And I was looking at people going, having fun on the streets. It's a sunny day, so they were eating ice cream and all that. And suddenly I had this feeling of, this cannot be real. The different lifetimes, they somehow got confused. And there was a moment I didn't really know, oh God, is this real? How could people laugh and have fun when there is this war going on and people dying? And
it felt like kind of the lines were crossed a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So after this, I went back to this hypnotherapist, and I wanted to learn hypnotherapy. I wanted to learn about the human mind and understand if this really is just my imagination. Can I make up all this stuff? Am I crazy? Am I going really crazy?
All questions I have asked myself in the early days, because what your linear mind is telling you, but then what your knowing and feeling and your truth inside is telling you are two very, very different things. And it's hard to reconcile the two because they're so, so different.
Yes, exactly. So awakening starts with confusion, I think. With a lot of confusion.
Yeah, for sure. So you got trained in hypnotherapy and continued to work as an engineer and just kind of do this on the side in the beginning, right?
Yes, exactly. And I was working on myself a lot because my mind just wouldn't let me go. It's like always receiving another lesson, things coming up from the present lifetime, childhood self, all the childhood stuff that comes up, self-love, self-rejection,
the wounds that we carry, right?
Exactly. All this just bubbled up. And yes, in the beginning, it's confusing.
It's a lot to process.
Yes.
Especially with an engineering mind where you want tangible proof, you want validation, you want very concrete answers, and a lot of this esoteric soul, energy, spiritual information that's coming in is all feeling based and inner knowing based of the truth. And there aren't really a lot of boxes, linear mind boxes to put these experiences in. So it's even harder when you have that kind of mind where you want to make sense of and analyze every single thing and have an explanation and have a box to put it in and feel like you have some sort of control around it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Must have been so challenging because I used to have this kind of box called other.
Yeah.
I put all of that in this box labeled other because there was no box that I could really wrap my mind around and put it in. It just went into this box called other. But it must have been so challenging to reconcile because once you're learning and your consciousness is expanding and you're getting all this information, you can't unknow what you know.
Exactly.
You can't go back
Exactly.
asleep. You're just continually waking up, and
Exactly.
expanding in consciousness. It's you don't go
Exactly.
back. I mean, I guess you could fall back asleep if you were very intentional about it, but
Perhaps. But even as an engineer or scientific mind, you cannot deny what you have experienced.
right.
You cannot deny. And as you start to think about it and the coincidences, the synchronicities that
Mm,
start to come into your life, the information that you couldn't possibly know if you weren't there, because it's just so detailed.
the details, yes, and there's so many documented cases now. There's
Yes,
so many books written. There are so many, there's just so many incredible resources out there that validate
exactly.
this experience. Um,
Yes,
like Brian Weiss, he a hypnotherapist also?
I
And
think
and
so.
then
Yes,
he actually had a client who was having these past life experiences and cracked him wide open.
yes,
Things like that, right? So,
exactly.
wow, what a huge amount to unpack and process for you. And
Exactly.
did you have anybody around you going through anything similar? Were you just processing all of this internally on your own? I mean, do you come home and say to your husband, wow, I just had the most incredible past life regression and I was in World War II and I died. Like I've had these kind of conversations with my husband and he just looks at me and backs away slowly like I think you could possibly be going crazy right now and I'm just going to walk away and come back later and we'll have like a normal conversation.
It was something very similar because I met with my husband right after this session, and he saw me with this mess,
Mascara, like
mascara,
like
yeah,
the raccoon eyes. Like
yeah.
what in the world happened?
And, I'm shaking, I'm
Oh gosh.
crying, I'm happy. I was so happy to see him alive. This is an undescribable feeling. Oh my God, you're alive. God, it's wonderful that
Did he
that
think you
we
were
are
having
alive.
a breakdown? Did he think you were having
Yeah,
like a mental breakdown?
I think he froze like a computer. He froze. Okay, okay, just slow down. Wait, what happened? What kind of World War II? Yeah, sure, sure. Okay, calm down. Let's have a drink or something. I think he didn't really understand. He felt that something significant happened, but I don't think he truly, I don't know if he believed me
Well,
or
you
he
don't have
truly
it if you haven't
understood.
had the experience. This stuff is hard to wrap your mind around.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly,
when you have
exactly.
the experience, then you know that this
Yeah,
is truth for you. But to try to explain something
it's
that
very hard.
another person has an experience, like for example, near death experiences where
Yes,
people
yes,
die and they cross over and then they come back. Now, they have had a very tangible and visceral experience that you can't really put into words or express or tell someone your truth because they have no frame of reference for it, right?
exactly, exactly. So
Yeah.
even if they believe you, they can't feel you. They don't feel the same things. They don't have the same experience. So it's very hard for them to grasp what you are going through, how confusing it is, how it's really a challenging but a beautiful, very, very beautiful experience. And as an outsider, I would have looked at him, I think, the same way. Like, I believe you, but what's going on?
Yeah. But
Uh,
you need some medication or something, right, to help you
yeah,
feel better.
sure. It
No.
must be
So
frightening.
how did you process all of that? That's just so much information to take in. That's just so much for you to process. Being new to this kind of information and experience. Did you start to meditate? Like, what kind of tools were you using to help yourself process this
So I
knowing information that was
started meditating first of all, but then I learned hypnosis.
Mhm.
And I started to understand how the mind works, how meditation works on a physical level as well, and how self-hypnosis works. You know, the difference between meditation, the classic meditation, is you just empty your mind, which is like level 10 for a beginner. It's unimaginable. You cannot empty your mind because, you know,
Well,
it's
there's a lot
running
of
around.
programming and
Programming,
information
noise.
it's like a software that's constantly running.
Yes, and it's very hard to stop it.
Mhm.
So there are different self-hypnosis techniques which help me to slow down my mind. They taught me to listen to all that information that's coming up and to let it go. Because, you know, the analytical mind tries to put it all in those boxes, to categorize, to understand, to control and manage,
And label it, right?
and label it.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed to learn to let go. Okay, whatever comes up, I need to let go because the mind in the background, it processes it much better than I would ever be able to.
So a level of surrender, it sounds like,
Yes,
at some point.
exactly. So it needed a huge level of surrender.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I started to receive kind of messages. You know, this sounds weird, crazy, especially for an analytical person, but I started to receive messages. For example, that my linear logic won't be able to follow all this information because the information is not linear, just as you said.
Mm-hmm.
And the brain needs a certain time until it creates a new kind of structure for processing non-linear logic. So everything is very, very logical. All that mess that was boiling in my head is very logical. But I need to develop that kind of mindset or
Like a
brain
higher
structure.
mind, like a
Yes,
higher mind, like
like a higher
a
mind.
different container to hold
Yes,
and process that
exactly,
information.
exactly. And that comes only through surrender.
Mm-hmm. And boy, do we know how hard it is to get to that level of surrender, because
Yes.
I know in my situation, my ego did not want to surrender.
Oh, yeah. Did it want
Ego,
to
it
control?
wanted to control everything. And over time, though, I think experience and patience and following the synchronicities and paying attention over time, your higher self is constantly dropping information in, kind of leaving this trail of breadcrumbs that you
Yes,
follow and you follow and you follow, and then pretty soon your tolerance for and ability to process that information is becoming easier, right?
yes, yes. And did you also experience these synchronicities coming up from,
So much so,
yeah,
like, so obvious that you can't deny that that was a sign from somewhere in the beginning. I was like, this is a sign from the universe. Like, I didn't associate it with something specific being gifted from me to help me grow. It was more like, wow, the universe just is sending me this message. And it was like, for me, it'd be like something would pull my awareness, like if you were looking at a pop-up book and something popped out, right? Like
Yes.
a number or something in nature, like a huge butterfly just landing on me, or, you know,
Yeah.
things where you have to pay attention because this is not normal, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
things
Yes.
like that. Yeah, it was really, really, when you have enough of those synchronistic moments that we pay attention to, they become a almost a confirmation or validation bank of experience. So all of a sudden, you stop questioning and you
Yes.
start seeking deeper truths, like, wow, what does this mean for me? Right?
Yes. Exactly. Exactly. And when I tried to explain, logically that it was a coincidence, no, it didn't mean anything, then these signs kept coming up, with huge letters into my face that I just couldn't deny after some time because it was
Yeah.
just so obvious.
Yeah. And then, fast forward. So you have really been so instrumental in helping people with, I think, both meditation and hypnosis. So you take hypnosis clients, and people, I'm sure, all over the world can find you, right?
Yes,
Online.
yes, exactly, exactly.
And what's your
It,
web address?
irinafurin.com.
And I will drop
So it's
that
my name.
link into the information. So if you're interested in trying hypnosis or learning how to connect to yourself, Irina is the person for you. I suggest you reach out to her through her website and give it a try. Go with an open mind, like she went the first time with a very open mind. Just see what happens, see what unfolds for you, because you might be surprised at the information that comes forward, right?
Exactly, exactly. So the interesting thing about hypnosis is that it's a tool. It's nothing but a tool. It's not a zombie state. It's nothing what the Hollywood movies are showing. It
Hmm.
is a tool to help your mind to step aside. I'm talking about the logical
Hmm.
left brain
Linear
mind,
mind.
the linear mind, the critical mind, the I know everything mind. It steps aside for a moment. You are fully in control, but you just step aside and start to observe, and you discover another part of your mind, or rather your higher self, your soul, communicating with you. You are allowing it to happen. You get not just information, but a lot of support and energy. Because as the left brain, the chattering mind, steps aside, and there will be some silence, there will be feelings, there will be real living experience. So you step out of your mind, in a sense, and start living in a much deeper sense.
I think
This,
there's more connection to everything around you. There's more connection
yes,
to yourself. And the key
exactly.
to the whole thing is becoming an observer.
Yes, yes,
You become aware that you're not your actions or your thoughts. You're the awareness behind them.
exactly,
You're the soul observing the human experience. That's
exactly,
that's your true essence.
exactly.
Physicality is an expression of the self,
Yeah,
but the true core is our soul, right?
yes, yes. But it's very hard to experience that because from early childhood we were conditioned to be in this active mode, in this left brain mode, analytical, critical, judgmental mode.
Hmm.
And it has become so active, so dominant, that for an average person it's hard to step out of it and
Oh,
just to
it
experience
is
the other
very
side.
difficult, but it's you know, it's something that is available to everyone. And if you take
Yes.
one small step towards it, you don't start out in life running a marathon,
No.
right? You have to crawl first, and then you learn to walk, and then you run, and then you train, and it's a process, right? So it's not nothing
Yes.
that happens overnight,
Yes.
um, for most people. But it is possible for everyone to really get to a place where they can relieve stress and let go of anxiety and learn to breathe and connect and calm the mind. There are so many tools out there to help
Yes.
people do that. Now, I'm so curious, you know, I haven't talked to you in so long, so it's so great to connect with you today. But what has been going on with you the last couple of years, going through this crazy pandemic time, and what have you been learning about yourself, and how's this experience been for you?
Well, it was learning, 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 and so much learning. First of all, as as you start on this journey, as you start to connect with yourself, you start to receive information on different levels. And I started experimenting with channeling, with reading energy, because it was obvious that these abilities started to open. And the same thing with my clients. So many people are coming to me now in the state of awakening. Their their abilities are opening up, the third eye. They start to understand their inner wisdom, but they don't know. They are confused. What's happening? How do I manage this? So you can feel, I'm sure you feel just as well that the energies are changing so rapidly,
Oh, yeah.
so rapidly.
Yes.
And humanity is reacting.
Well, they
People
have
are
to,
reacting. Yes.
humanity has to assimilate the energy that's coming into the
Yes.
into the planet. The 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 intensity, the frequency is a lot higher
Yes.
coming into the planet right now. And as inhabitants of Earth, it's it's touching everyone, whether you're consciously aware of it or unconscious. Your
Exactly.
body is receiving energy that is hitting the planet. Now, before, I think a lot of the energies were a little easier to assimilate. They weren't as intense, they were
Yes.
lower
Yes.
vibrational, and I think the frequencies were coming in really kind of in a glancing blow, and kind of it would hit the surface and skim off, and hit the surface and skim off, like a skipping stone almost.
Yes.
But
Yes.
now it's just like full throttle energy, just like blasting
Yes.
us.
Yes. Absolutely.
And it can actually feel like a breakdown. It can feel very disorienting for people
Yes. Yes.
who are still holding on to really old paradigms, or still holding on to ways of dealing with their lives and processing that no longer serve them.
Yes. Yes.
Because what we're seeing is this frequency is demanding truth.
Yes.
It's forcing truth. Higher vibrational energy is pure and demands truth. Lower
Yes.
vibrational energy allows us to really still kind of deceive and bury, and kind of not address what's happening inside of us, the truth that's really inside of us, right? So
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
know what your feelings are about that, but I know the pandemic has really triggered so much truth coming to the surface for people.
Yes. Yes. And what I see is uh, people having long-term relationships or marriages coming to me with something happened. Everything is falling apart. They are losing jobs. They are losing all those things that seemed so stable, just invincible. Uh, and suddenly everything is falling apart
It's like the rug
around
is
them.
being
Yes,
pulled out from under you, and you don't know
exactly,
what in the world
exactly,
just happened. How do I even
exactly,
process this?
exactly.
And what do
And
you think is being triggered for these people? What types of things are being triggered for healing when you're in your practice?
the same that you mentioned, truth, truth. All those things that they didn't want to see.
Mm.
You know, this awakening is not a smooth, loving, caring, just patting on the head,
Gentle,
awakening, gentle.
gentle process.
Yes, exactly. It is a slap in the face
Hmm.
for these people as well as me and everyone else.
Hmm.
But it depends on us how we how we react to this. Because surrender is a huge, huge word right now. You cannot fight these forces, and control, it's just falling apart.
Makes it harder.
Yes, exactly.
Resistance intensifies the experience.
Yes, yes.
But that's the first instinct that survival
We all
instinct
do
that
that.
people
Yes,
have, is to grab on and fight
yeah, exactly.
tooth and nail for what they have um, done in the past, those patterns, those reactions,
Again,
those
yeah,
mindsets, all of it is to hold on to the things that don't serve them, because
absolutely.
it's so scary to let go and not know what's going to come if you
Yes,
surrender, right? Fear,
exactly.
fear of
Fear. So all these things, as we mentioned, the fear, all those secrets coming up, things that we didn't want to see, like those marriages, they were stagnating. Those people were suffering sometimes in these marriages. There was verbal abuse, physical abuse,
Mhm.
or so many things. But, the picture, the surface looked nice and it fitted them. And we came into these times where truth comes out. Truth comes out at such a
Powerful.
pace that, yes, very powerful. And and I see these people waking up confused and trying to find a way how to react, because the people who come to me, they tried resistance, they tried denial, they tried,
So they're
fighting,
kind of at a breaking
blame.
point. Like
They are at the
I'm
breaking
willing to
point.
try something different because
Exactly.
nothing's working, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. The
Yeah.
blaming game doesn't work,
Mhm.
the manipulation doesn't work,
All
breaking
those
down
old
doesn't,
tricks, all those
nothing
old
works.
tricks won't work
Yes,
anymore. And I think what's
exactly.
happening, I would say, is truth is coming up aggressively.
Yes,
Like you
yes.
say, not even just a slap in the face, but it is shaking your core
Shaking, yes,
foundations of
yes,
safety, security, all
yes,
those root chakra kind of foundational fears, those primal fears,
yes,
that level and uh, base existence, survival is being
exactly.
threatened. And it's really, boy, it's terrifying for people to process. But there are tools. So
Yes,
let's talk about some of the tools. But before we go there, I really would like to know what you have been, kind of processing yourself over the last year or two, because that was kind of the original question and we
yeah, oh,
veered
yes,
off.
sure, sure. Um, for me, it was surrender,
Mhm.
but on another level. Because as an empath, it's very hard for us to see suffering, to be in these times where we see this amount of
And
abuse.
feel everything too, right?
And feel everything, exactly, because it comes through us. We feel it energetically. It's very, very challenging.
Mm-hmm.
It's challenging to stay on this vibration and be able to help, because it's draining. It's taking away the energy. So how do you manage as a healer, as a hypnotherapist, as a person who wants to help and change the world, in our little way, but it's
Mm-hmm.
still significant. So this was the main challenge for me, to find my balance, to
Yeah.
be able to go into those dark places, because when you are working with a client, you need to go with them to a certain level into those dark places to help them show the light, to find this light within them, and to help them heal. But it's also triggering. So we as healers, as hypnotherapists, we need to do our own work,
Right.
because
I was gonna say it's really important to have boundaries
yes,
and also to know when to pull back and allow the other person to hold their pain
yes,
and suffering. Because it's
yes,
not our role to heal you, it's our role to show you how to heal yourself.
yes, exactly.
It's
We
not
are
our role to take
helping.
it on
Yes,
ourselves, right? And so
exactly.
the boundaries are so huge, right? And being able to
Yes,
step back with love and compassion and let them suffer and see that
yes.
they have to
So,
hold and process their stuff, right?
yes, exactly. So sometimes we are uh, guiding them or helping, showing the tools, showing the way, but we also need to step back and give space
Mm-hmm.
for other people. And you know, the hardest thing is to do that with your family.
Oh, very much so. Well, our
Yes,
soul family, they're our greatest teachers, right?
yes,
And so you
exactly.
love them so much and you really know that you can help them. But the
Yes,
biggest gift you can give of all is to step back and allow them to find
exactly,
themselves in their own way. And boy,
exactly.
is that painful
Yes,
sometimes to
it
watch.
is. It is. It is. Sometimes it is very hard because we want to save them,
Mm.
and that's
Well, I
not the
had to
right
give
way.
that up. I had to give that up. And really, what helped me with that was learning that, everyone is here for their own earth experience.
Yes,
They're not here to live my idea of what their earth
exactly,
experience should be. Everyone is here
exactly.
creating their own lives and their own suffering and their own opportunities for growth. And who am I to intervene with that? So I came to a new place around that where it was just observation and love with surrender. Like,
Yes,
I
yes,
love you and hold space for your process, but I'm not going to hold any of that. That
yes,
journey
yes, yes,
belongs to that person. And by us intervening, we delay their healing,
yes, exactly.
So it takes time to get to a place where you can just hold space and not want to run in, right?
Exactly, exactly. And I think that these times are teaching us exactly that.
Mm-hmm.
With our family, with other people, we are, as healers, we are learning to step back and allow them to suffer if they need that. And when they need our help, then we come forward and we help them, but we are not doing that for them.
Right. I mean, we can't do the work for them.
Yes,
Everybody has to do their own inner work. Like I always say, when that oxygen mask comes down and the plane's going down, you have got to put your oxygen mask on first.
yes,
So if you're busy trying to save everybody, you lose yourself.
yes, yes,
We have to really
exactly,
pour our energy into ourselves and being healthy, and everybody's responsible for that, right?
exactly, Exactly.
to do the healing work, to find the tools, to seek help if you need help, professional help, or, yoga or whatever therapy you feel called to, follow that guidance. Maybe it's hiking in nature, maybe it's kayaking, maybe it's gardening, whatever it is. It's up to us to find out what is
Yes,
going to serve us in our healing.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly,
It's not up to the healer to heal you. It's up to the healer to show you how to heal yourself, I think.
exactly, exactly.
So a lot of work for you then, it sounds like, just really being compassionate and learning to not run in all the time
Yes,
and save
yes,
and help and assist.
yes, yes, yes. But the good news is that I see many healers coming, for example, to me and other therapists as well. And they are connecting now to their own core, to their higher self, uh, so fast. They are learning so fast. They are awakening so fast that it's amazing. It's really humbling to see
That's beautiful. I
how
think
fast that can go.
I think one of the things about this time is we are realizing that we have to really pour all the energy that we have spent giving our whole lives back into ourselves, because so many people who are in different healing professions are burned out.
Yes, yes,
Whether you're you know, um, someone who teaches meditation, or someone who teaches yoga, or even nurses or people in healing professions, psychotherapists, just everyone who's been programmed or hardwired to show up for others.
yes,
Many of us were not good at showing up for ourselves.
yes,
And
yes.
so, one of my biggest growth lessons the last couple of years has been to learn to do that. It's okay to have boundaries. It's okay to show up for
Hmm.
myself. It's okay to create space. It's okay to say no to a client who doesn't feel aligned for me, because they're going to just suck the life out of me, So uh, I've had to do a lot of work around that myself, about giving myself permission to pour all the love that I've poured out into the world my whole life back in. Because
Yes,
you get depleted and you don't realize it. You get burned out. You start to get a little resentful or angry, or
yes,
because
yes,
you're not filling your bank. So
exactly,
that's
yes.
a big thing for me the last couple of years. I don't know if you felt the same.
Yes, I felt the same, and now I'm seeing this kind of um, accelerating. So people who are empathic people, healers, etc., they cannot can no longer abuse themselves because
Yes.
these times are just so draining. The
Yeah.
energy is changing so fast.
Self-care is so critical right now.
Yes, and it's inevitable.
Hmm.
It's simply something they can no longer avoid.
Well, they can no longer tolerate it, because
Yes,
the um, the energies are too intense,
yes,
and the
yes,
patterns of behavior um, are going to create experiences that are intolerable. And when you get to that
exactly.
place where you can't tolerate it another minute, or you're having a breakdown,
That's
eventually
the
you're going to get
moment.
to a place where you can't take it anymore, and something's going to have to change. And that's what these
Exactly,
times are about, is
exactly,
those breakdowns are, like they say, this is so cliche, but they do lead to the breakthroughs, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So I'm seeing them healing themselves. So no longer trying to save everyone else, but they are turning to themselves, to their inner wisdom, to their inner
That's
energies.
so beautiful.
Exactly, and it's starting to create this awakening momentum. First, among these people, of course.
Hmm.
but I can see how they are affecting their children. For example, these clients, they have families, they have children, etc. They thought that if they sacrifice themselves and please everyone, it will be okay. So they forgot to live for themselves. And
I love
suddenly,
that this awareness is coming up for so many
yes, and
because it's so
suddenly they wake up
important.
to this.
It's just so
Exactly.
important, right?
Yes, yes,
Oh my
absolutely.
gosh.
So times are changing. These people are becoming more aware. Their families are becoming again shaken up that
Well,
mommy is not
I've
their servant.
definitely found that, as we do our own healing, it rocks the world of everybody around you because you stop
Absolutely.
showing up in a codependent way and you stop doing too much and sacrificing yourself. You start to honor your time and your energy, and you start to create boundaries. And people don't like that, who
Exactly.
are used to just
Exactly.
you giving, 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 right? So it
Exactly.
does create a little bit of a fallout in the people
Yes.
in your immediate families and your um, friend circle and people who are just used to you showing up in a certain way.
Yes.
That is
Yes.
certainly true. However, for every person that heals themselves, there's a domino effect because you become a role model for others.
Yes.
You can show others. They're observing you living a healthier life and showing up for yourself, being happier, and that's kind of a template you're creating for the people around you to follow, wouldn't you say?
Yes. Yes. And it happens on a conscious as well as an unconscious level.
Right. Right.
So first, for example, the family, the children are they don't get what happened to mommy.
Yes.
she,
She's
she's not
changing.
changing, yes, and they don't like that. And
Mhm.
for example, the colleagues and other people
So
start
there's
to react.
resistance around you when you start to change.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So there will be some confrontation, but then what they see is healthy boundaries.
Hmm.
They see someone respecting themselves,
Right. Right.
and all this just starts to create a new pattern, changes the
It kind of plants
dynamics.
a seed, right? Like, hmm,
Exactly,
wow,
exactly.
I can see that this person, my mom or my sister, whoever it is in the family that's changing, is so much happier. There's less
Yes,
drama in their lives. Opportunities are coming because their vibration is rising. They're dropping
yes,
density, they're dropping old programming and healing ancestral trauma and,
yes,
doing all that inner
exactly.
work. So the density and the lower vibration is falling away, which is allowing them to rise and rise and rise. And
Yes,
then that energetic resonance is going to attract that new higher vibe starts to attract things like a magnet into their lives. A better
exactly,
experience, a better life experience, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So it's
So
kind of,
sometimes they need some time until they adjust
oh,
to the
for
new dynamics.
sure. For
And
sure, right? Well, I would love for you in our last few minutes to share any sort of tips or tools for people who are just struggling with some of the things we've been talking about. Maybe you're newly
okay,
awakening and you don't know what to do with this experience because it's so far out of your comfort
yeah,
zone or your wheelhouse. The first tool before Irina shares would be to call her and get a session if you feel called to. She'll be such a great guide and help you work through some of this stuff. But I'm going to turn it over to you and give you an opportunity to share some maybe tools that could help people.
okay,
Yeah.
absolutely. So many people, even those who think that they are in terms with their feelings, have actually problem uh, with connecting with their feelings. Okay, they are connecting with the nice ones. Okay, like
Right.
happiness and then happy
Right.
clapping. But it's hard to connect with our feelings, so we don't know that we have them. We suppress them. So there is a very effective tool to start to communicate with those feelings. even the nasty ones, especially the nasty ones.
Mhm.
You start, you do your meditation. If you meditate, just sit down, close your eyes, breathe deeply,
Mhm.
and allow yourself to relax. And then imagine that you are in a beautiful room. This is your sacred space. This is your ideal space. This is your room. And there is a door. And on the other side of the door, there are your feelings waiting for you in some shape. You can imagine them as people. And one by one, you invite them into this room. First, you just observe the first person, the feeling which is coming in. You just observe, no judgment, no critical thinking, nothing. Just observe. Often we have no idea what that feeling is. For example, in my case, there was a woman with red hair and she looked sloppy, a bit oldish, but with a lot of lipstick. So kind of a weird woman came in with huge, huge nails. So I invited her in and I took her hand to, the first contact is through the hand. Observe the hands, observe the face, all these details, even though it's a symbolic representation of that feeling, all these details have a meaning. It's so wonderful, like in dreams. For example, this woman with the red hair. As I started to observe the nails, the fingernails, just these red, huge, the color of her hair, it's dyed, it's too red,
Mhm.
too much of her,
Right.
And then I said, I welcomed her, said, thank you for coming here. And tell me, what do you need from me? It's so important. These feelings want to express themselves, but they are shut out.
Mhm.
You are not allowing them in. You suppress them, you hate them, you want them to disappear.
So they
That's not the
want to
right.
be seen and heard.
They want to be seen and heard. They want our attention. So I invited her in, took her hand, and I asked her, what is it that you need from me? And she attacked me. It was so funny. She attacked me. And I just allowed to happen whatever happens. And I understood it was anger. What is attacking yourself? Your anger is eating you up from the inside.
Mhm.
It is a symbolic representation, as I said.
Mhm.
So just allow whatever happens should happen. It's okay. You are in this safe room. Allow this feeling to express itself. Sometimes I'm having this conversation with that feeling, fear, for example. It is yelling, you have to run, or hide, whatever. You listen to the feeling. Even if it's funny, even if it's silly, even if it's weird, listen. And then your feeling will tell you what it needs from you. Mostly, it's just surrender, acceptance. Sometimes it will need forgiveness. Sometimes it needs your love and compassion. Sometimes it wants you to let it go.
Mhm.
So listen to this person, to that feeling, and it will tell you its story and what you need to do to, to set it free. And the amazing thing is that most people who do this exercise, they experience that that feeling becomes very light. The person changes.
Mm.
Either it becomes just bright light and goes away. Sometimes it becomes a beautiful person, beautiful woman, or someone like an angel. It's their divine energy.
It transmutes basically
It,
the energy.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, how
Exactly.
beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're
That is
welcome.
such a perfect way to end our conversation with that offering of a very divine tool to help people
That's a very
meet
powerful
themselves.
tool.
Meet
Yes,
themselves. But remember, if you
exactly.
do this practice, you have to be the observer
Yes,
and not react. You're in a
not
you
react.
create a sacred space where you're safe and not
Yes,
react to whatever's unfolding, because it will play out
it will
if
play
you
out.
allow it to.
Yes,
If you resist it, then maybe you're not ready.
yes,
Right?
yes. And you know, in this room, you are in control because you are the host and they are the guests. So if you feel that you are not yet ready to deal with that
You can
feeling,
ask that feeling to leave,
exactly,
and they
exactly.
will. It will.
Yes.
Right? It'll
But you
respect
know,
your wishes.
you will remember that this feeling has something to tell you. And when you will be ready, it will happen almost automatically because you have given your subconscious the
That
instruction,
permission, like that
the
permission.
permission. Yes, exactly.
Oh, Irina, it was so wonderful having you as a guest today. Thank you so much
Thank
for being
you.
on this show. And to my
Thank you.
audience, I love you all. I hope you go out and have a beautiful day. Take care of yourselves, love yourselves, and I will talk to you later. We'll see you next time. Bye.
See you. Bye bye.
Like a bird on a tree,